The story focuses on a middle-aged man named Hatch. Mansell is the man, where he is a figure, father and head of the family for his wife and his 2 children. Hart himself works at a company owned by his father-in-law as part of administration, whose days are filled with monotonous routine. And just like that, without the slightest adrenaline rush, until one night, Hatch's residence was visited by 2 thieves, which Hatch managed to catch them. But for a certain reason, Hatch even let them take some change, which amount is not too many. Unexpectedly, Hatch's eldest child also managed to ambush one of the thieves, and when the other thief was distracted, we will see Hatch holding a golf club and intended to hit him. But what happened? Hatch, instead, asked his son to let the thief go and let the 2 of them just run away. As a result, his eldest son also felt very disappointed with the action. Hatsu plus the attitude of the police, who seemed to be joining in, showing disappointment towards a father figure like him. It cannot be denied. This incident also had a negative impact, which is enough proof. That figure, Hat, as father and protector of the family, starting to get doubts from his wife and his eldest child, except for the little girl. Not quite there. Next door neighbor also gave a strong sarcasm by saying that if his house is stolen, he certainly wouldn't stay silent and will give you a little lesson to the thieves. And that's enough to make Hatch roasting. Not just at home, even at work. Hatch gets less favorable treatment when his wife's brother, aka his own brother-in-law, regret what happened last night and gave a gun to Hatch, just in case. Keep my sister safe, bro. This was his father-in-law, aka the owner of the company where he works, where he talks about. Hatch plans to buy this company because of his old age. He or his in-laws intend to retire. But because the price is not right, Hatch was asked to think again. Outside of fatigue and routine, Hatch apparently has a special radio in his office, where he often talks to someone who seems to be an old friend, where it becomes a mysterious question about who this Hatch really is. And Hatch conversations with someone on the radio finally revealed an interesting fact about the reasons why Hatch did not put up a fight that night, because apparently Hart already know in detail about the 2 thieves, which they both are a possible husband and wife, most likely experiencing economic problems, because if they is a professional thief who often carries out actions impossible, they commit theft just for some change, which amount is not too many. And the most interesting of all is the gun they used that night. Absolutely no bullets. And that's a strong reason why Hatch did not put up a fight. Clear, okay? With all the facts just now, and with all the analysis that Hatch can do, this clearly increased my curiosity. You all of us. About who the real Hatch figure is. After coming home from work, Hatch went to the nursing home to visit. His father is of course an old man, where he could only sit on the sofa while watching the television. The Hatch also stands right in front of the house, where he saw his own family, and felt that he was quite disappointed with himself, who failed to become a protective figure for the family. And that's enough to make Hatch feel like he's off the hook. When you enter the house, wife and his eldest son was still indifferent towards him. But when the butt complained about the necklace, his lost dog, and maybe got carried away by the 2 thieves last night, that's where the Hatch really gets emotional. Quickly, Hatch returned to the nursing home, where his father lived, where he took it. The gun he kept there, and with a hint, namely the tattoo on the thief's arm that he saw at night. Hatch also plans to look for the 2 thieves, and took back his son's dog collar. After visiting several tattoo shops, come to the Hatch at a tattoo parlor that has been around for decades. Where is the place? It is filled with people who are not random, and the arrival of Hatch there is quite interesting. These people's attention. But what's interesting is, when one of the grandfathers saw the tattoo on Hatch's arm, he was immediately surprised and said, "Thank you for your service." when the grandfather entered the room and locked the door very, very tightly. That's where these people start to change attitudes. And happy to help. That's all. I'm getting more and more curious. Don't waste time. Hatch 2 was seen already at the residence of the two thieves, where Hatch appears like Baba Yaga, aka the boogeyman, and immediately asked for his son's dog collar to be returned. But when it hatches, it will do more than that. Suddenly the action stopped. When he saw the second baby, the thief cried, until Hatch got annoyed and flailed. Wall until both of his hands were bleeding. And here he is now, sitting on the bus, headed home with everyone. Feelings of irritation that failed to vent. But stroke of luck happened when there was a group of drunk youths and get into the bus at, which made Hud immediately smile, because he finally got an easy target to use as an outlet for his emotions. That's crazy, bro. And when the passengers are afraid, because of the arrival of a group of drunks, Hatch casually walked past them, then invited the driver to get out, then get back into the bus, and locked the door tightly. So what will Hatch do? Yes, he will beat them all. There was a fight between 5 big and tall young men, where the Hatch has brutally thin stature, all of them, where this scene is shown quite realistically, and it's very, very adrenaline-inducing. And up to this point, it's clear that Hatch is a nobody man, but not just any man. When at home, the wife, too, at first, shocked by the many wounds on Hatch's body, but without many questions, she treated Hatch wholeheartedly and accompanied him until he falls into a deep sleep. Meanwhile, the scene moves to another place, where we will see some kind of mafia, named Yulian Kuznetsov, or usually called Yuli, where Yuli is seen dancing and singing in a quite crowded nightclub. That night, Yuli herself is a mafia. Russia has a money-saving business, which are his fellow mafia colleagues entrust all their money in Yuli's storage area. And when they are together, Yuli was also reprimanded by her colleagues regarding his lack of courage when dancing and singing in public, which attitude is considered acceptable, lowered the confidence of most of them, because it shows a lack of authority and self-respect. Yuli, and what she did, Yuli suddenly broke the glass, then attacked one of the visitors there, then slit neck right in front of his colleagues. And that's proof enough that Yuli is a dangerous person, which can increase their confidence. Not long ago, Yuli also got a call that his brother was being treated in hospital, which turned out to be his younger brother, was one of the victims of Hat during the incident on the bus earlier. Yuli was furious and tried to interrogate his brother's friends one by one about the perpetrator who had battered his brother, where one of his friends managed to get it, Hatch's work identity card. In short, the next morning arrived. The Hatch also looks like it has recovered as before, and soon got a phone call from a common friend, accompanied him on the radio, who is his friend, warned about last night's events, that one of the people Hatch beat is a family member of a Russian mafia, dangerous, namely Yuli. To find information about this Yuli, Hatch went to the barber, where there is someone quite important, who knows who it is. But at a glance, I can already guess. That person is most likely agencies that have employed Hutch in the past. And after seeing the documents about Yuli, Hatch doesn't regret it in the slightest. What he did last night, and will face every risk for his actions. Yuli herself gave it, Hatch's work identity card, to his staff, where the staff ordered one of the people from the government side, or Pentagons, to track addresses and all things Hatch. And what a surprise the staff was when, knowing that Hatch is a very dangerous person, where we can see some photos that shows the brutality of the Hatch in the past, until the staff decided not to interfere and resigned from her job right then and there. That's how scary Hatch's character is. While Hatch and the family were having dinner, unexpected, Yuli apparently moved faster than expected, where he sent several troops to the address, his house, to finish off Hatch and his entire family. Quickly, Hatch also asked them to go into the basement, where they were all confused and shocked when you find out that their basement room, this turns out to have quite sophisticated technology. And at a time when his family was confused by all this, Hatch also asked them all to remain calm and don't call 911 when Yuli's troops entered. For a moment, I was reminded of the film John Wick, when his house was visited by several troops. Russian mafia shipment, named Vigo. Still remember right. And now I'm even more curious. What will Hatch do to Yuli's troops? These are the facts. Hatch turns out to have a brutal soul, twice as sadistic as John Wick, where Hatch massacred most of Yuli's troops. So crazy, though eventually, he had to be caught because he was electrocuted from behind. But it's not a Hatch. If he could be caught so easily, because while traveling, Hatch can also remove the handcuffs quite easily and create their car rolled over, which resulted in the 3 troops dying horribly. Hatch returned home and cleaned himself up, where he calmly took his wife, and the child comes out, and saw so many bodies scattered around. Then, told them to go to safe place until the situation is truly conducive, because he was still confused about what happened. The wife also asked about what actually happened, but the low profile Hatch begs him to believe it, and is confident that this situation will return to normal. After his wife and children went to a safe place, Hatch opened the box containing his gold bars. Which one? It was a leftover treasure from his past work. In John Wick, he has gold coins, which when opened is filled with chocolate. Well, Hatch has gold bars here. Meanwhile, the father is in a nursing home. Yuli's 2 men also visited him, which they intended to kill him accordingly. Orders from Yuli. And Yul really mocked and surprised when he saw the 2 people in command didn't move at all. When the fathers are old, it turns out to be more dangerous than imagined. After blowing up the house, along with all the bodies of Yuli's troops, Hatch also met his father-in-law to buy the company, where he worked with the gold bullion he brought. The brother-in-law also rejected the agreement and was about to hit him, but Hatch doesn't care anymore. He quickly hit his brother-in-law's stomach, where he looked very, very sick. Then, Hatch asked him to take a breath, slowly, and sit nicely. On the other hand, Yuli was quite surprised when, knowing that all the troops he sent were killed, plus 1 member of his squad, is his favorite assistant, just like Vigo, who had messed with the wrong people, namely John Wick. Yuli also mobilized all his troops, and all existing troops, just to catch one person, namely the Mansell Hatch. Hatch himself seemed to be preparing a plan for. This is all which Hatch intends to wage war on Yuli. After finding out that Yuli has dared to send troops to kill his family, without hesitation and without the slightest fear, Hatch also went to where Yuli's money was kept, where he casually massacred dozens of armed troops there, which implies one thing. That's actually a Hatch. Never done anything worse than. This is in the past. Not only that, Hatch also burned all the money belonging to Yuli's colleagues, which it certainly will. Yuli is responsible for loss of all their money. And the craziest thing of all is, after Hatch wants to destroy Yuli's business, Hatch also with courage. He was brave enough to come alone to Yuli's club, where we can see him enjoying himself eating, without any fear of Yuli and all his troops. However, behind all his crazy and reckless actions is Hutch. Turns out to have a brilliant idea when he brought an explosive right onto the table, which made Yuli ask everyone to come out. From there the dog, without much ado, Hatch, immediately revealed his purpose for coming here, where he offered a peace agreement to no longer pursue him and his family. Until now, Hatch says that he already burned all the money and Yuli's business. Hatch also suggested that Yuli quits her mafia job and become a new, better person. On exit, Hatch was waiting to see what Yuli would do, until Yuli came out and was going to chase him. Don't blame Hatch. If Yuli would rather die than accept the offer earlier, a chase ensued, where Hatchie's car was hit by hundreds of bullets. And when it arrives, right in front of the company he had bought, Hatch was suddenly helped by someone who shoot from above, which it turned out to be, is a person who often speaks on the radio, as well as an adopted child. Hatch's father is considered his own younger brother. This man's name is Harry. But that wasn't the surprise, because suddenly, yes, it's Hatch's father who has done his best. This turned out to help him. Where are they? The two plan to help Hatch finish off the mafia, this evil Russia. Meanwhile, Harry also looked moderate. Close combat. After Yuli's troops managed to get inside, where Harry made an extraordinary shot, when 3 people died immediately, with just 1 shot fired by him. But Hat is still the most brutal person today, where he uses a mouse trap to make a small explosive. Then, when the people were shocked, Hatch quickly shot them from close range. Then, took a gun from the refrigerator. Then finished off the others with the crowbar shot he had made. When the 3 of them got together, that's when the past seems to repeat itself. Which are 3 of them? Is a family that is very feared, because he has a profession that is quite scary. In the past, after all his troops were killed, Yuli is the only one left alive, where he managed to shoot Harry in the shoulder, which pushed the 3 of them to the edge. And don't assume this is a dramatic scene that will end sadly, because with all the madness and brutality of the Hatch, he was determined to attach it. Explosive mines on bulletproof doors. Then came as close as possible to Yuli. Then detonated the mine right at Yuli's until he died, in very dire conditions. After all this is over, Hatch was arrested and questioned by 2 police officers, where they both are very shocked by hundreds of bodies, humans at that location. And as if I couldn't believe it, if Hatch had done it all alone long ago. One of the police also received a telephone call, followed by the other one, where they get a call from the same person, which seems very important. Who knows who it is? But what is surprising is, they both apologize for catching Hatch, and just let it go, without anything bothering him in the slightest. When the police asked who you really were, Hatch answered, "I am a nobody." The ending ended, which really perpetuated the brutal shock. Then there is also a scene after Hatch is interrogated, where he and his wife were looking for a new house. Then the celebrity at home got a phone call, apparently for the Hatch. So who exactly is this Hatch? Another one almost missed. There is a scene after where his father Hatched, his adopted brother was in, traveling carrying a lot of heavy weapons. The message we can take from this film is, being quiet doesn't mean being timid. Brave is not necessarily brave.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.